This is Sports Weekly. Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of Sports Weekly. I'm Dylan Steggy.
I'm Jason Gandhi.
And we've got plenty of things to talk about this week. First off, the playoff just got announced.
Yep.
Number 1 seed, Clemson. Number 2 seed, Oklahoma. Number 3, Georgia. And the controversial one, number 4, Alabama.
Yeah, it was really between Alabama, Ohio State, and USC, and Alabama got the nod.
Yeah, Alabama, I think they should have got the nod. I mean, they only had one loss. It was to a very hot Auburn team at Auburn, their biggest rival. I mean, Alabama, they really dominated the rest of their schedule. They really can't control who they play, and teams like Ohio State against Iowa, they had that 31-point loss. Alabama played a lot of teams like Iowa and didn't lose to any of them, so I think Alabama gets a nod. But Jason, you have another team that you think should have got in.
Yeah, I want to say first that I do think Bama should have got in, but I don't think it was much of a Bama, Ohio State, USC. I'm going to give the case for USC. So first, if you're looking at USC, Ohio State, USC beat 8 bowl-eligible teams. Ohio State only beat 5. USC lost to their only losses were to ranked teams on the road. Ohio State's losses were either at home or to an unranked opponent. So definitely better losses. They were only blown out once, not twice. They were blown out to Ohio State was blown out to Oklahoma and Iowa. And now looking at USC and Bama, they have a conference title. Bama doesn't, and they have more top 40 wins than Ohio State and Bama. So not that I think USC should have got in. Obviously, one loss is less than 2, so I do like Bama getting in. But I think there was a case, and I would have put USC over Ohio State. I would have ranked them USC 5, Ohio State 6.
Ohio State definitely did have some better wins, though, especially against Penn State, a top 10 team, number 2 at the time, and Wisconsin last week in the Big Ten championship. But now we get to see these two teams match up against each other, and this is my bowl that I'm most excited for. Sam Darnold and the USC Trojans, 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions on the season. He's probably going to be the number 1 pick in the draft if he leaves USC this year. And he's had an up and down year, and the Trojans have had a great year. Obviously, those 2 losses to Notre Dame and Washington State, but I think the Trojans come out on top in this bowl game.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think Ohio State would win this matchup. Just because if J.T. Barrett gets 2 weeks off now, he's refreshed and ready to go. I think he's a better college quarterback than Sam Darnold. I think Darnold's obviously a better prospect. You say he's the number 1 pick. I wouldn't take number 1. I would take Josh Rosen out of UCLA. He just seems more pro-ready. Darnold makes too many turnovers. But we can get into that in April when the draft gets around. The bowl I'm most excited for, I want to lean Holiday Bowl because Michigan State's there. I know you don't have a team in it because Purdue beat them. But I wanted to lean Holiday Bowl and gives Brian Lewerke some love. But I've got to go with the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Auburn versus UCF. UCF, what a story. Going winless just 2 seasons ago. Now undefeated. Mackenzie Milton, ballin'. Scott Frost. Milton has 35 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Great margin there. Like I said, Scott Frost now going to Nebraska, but still going to coach him. What a story he has. And then Traquan Smith, just a stud receiver, over 1,000 yards and 13 touchdowns. So I really like the Knights. I think they upset the Auburn Tigers, and that's why I'm excited to watch that bowl game. Jan 1 bowl, and it should be a good one.
Yeah, I think it really depends on which Auburn team shows up, the one that beat Alabama or Georgia, or the one that really fell flat in the SEC championship against Georgia.
And if I'm not mistaken, isn't the Peach Bowl back in the Mercedes-Benz Dome?
I believe so.
So they're going right back to where they lost the SEC championship. Yeah. That should be fun to see as well.
All right. Also, quick shout-out to the Idaho Potato Bowl, one of my favorite bowls to watch on the blue field of Boise State. Got to give some love. But that's going to do it for
Idaho's not even in it. It's literally Wyoming. Josh Allen, another good NFL prospect we can talk about. But, yeah, so that'll wrap up our college football segment.
Yeah.
So now let's go into March Madmen.
All right, and welcome into March Madmen. So this week, one thing to really watch out for in the college basketball landscape, conference play is getting underway. What's a conference that you really like, Jason?
Yeah, I'm not going to go just this week. I just mean for the season. What conference I want to keep an eye on, and it's got to be the ACC. How does that shake out? So many top-heavy good teams. You've got number 1 Duke, number 9 Notre Dame, number 10 Miami, number 11 UNC, and number 15 Virginia. That is 5 teams in the top 15. That's crazy. And so I just want to see, how does that shake out? Does Notre Dame upset Duke? Does Virginia upset Miami? All those different things that will play out throughout conference play. I'm excited that college basketball is finally here.
All right, I'm going to go with the SEC. You know, obviously SEC doesn't have the basketball prestige of the ACC, but this year they've got some really underrated teams. A lot of people thought it'd just be Kentucky and Florida at the beginning of the season, but this Texas A&M team is looking really good so far. Also got Alabama and Mississippi State hanging around. They could be up there in the rankings by the end of the season. And the SEC, really 3 teams at the top right now, Kentucky, Florida, and A&M. And they could be a really underrated conference come March Madness.
I'm not buying Florida. We just saw on Monday Florida get absolutely destroyed by Florida State. Florida State having another one in the ACC that's playing really well, undefeated. So they might even get ranked now, beating the number 5 team in the country in Florida. So, yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Plenty of time still left in this college basketball season and plenty of conference play to come. We'll have it all covered every week here on Sports Weekly. But now let's move on to some professional basketball with Around the Association. All right, and welcome back to Around the Association. We have 3 things this week that we noticed we want to talk about. Jason, what are your 3 things?
Yeah, sticking with the theme each week are 3 things. Number 1, I got to go with the Houston Rockets. They are on fire. Not only are the Rockets 7-0 as of when we've recorded this since Chris Paul returned, but they've led by as many as 20 points in each of those 7 games.
Crazy.
It hasn't ended with 20 points, but still, being up by as many as 20 points in 7 straight games, that's something that's crazy. Also, I mean, obviously you see the Cavs, but that's not one of my 3. Next, got to go to the Sacramento Kings / Los Angeles Lakers. Now, this is what I'm talking about. Everyone hates on Lonzo Ball when he has one bad game. Why does no one care that De'Aaron Fox literally has the lowest real plus-minus of 444 qualified NBA players? No one's talking about it because we're too busy worrying about LeVar Ball, LiAngelo Ball, LaMelo Ball, Lonzo Ball. Focus on real and how De'Aaron Fox is really struggling, and the Sacramento Kings have got to figure that out.
And the Lonzo Ball fans just making everything about them.
I'm just saying, you got to point that out there. Number 3, all the injuries that are going on right now. I have a list. You ready for this? These are who have gotten hurt so far this season. Gordon Hayward, D'Angelo Russell, Zach LaVine, Nikola Jokic, Paul Millsap, Danilo Gallinari, Blake Griffin, Mike Conley, Hassan Whiteside, Jabari Parker, Anthony Davis, Kristaps Porzingis, Markelle Fultz, Jonathan Isaac, Kawhi Leonard, Rodney Hood, John Wall. Those are all players, and for the majority of them either have lots of upside or stars in the NBA right now that really mean a lot to their team, and those are all guys that have missed extended periods of time. And there's also guys that have missed a few games here and there, like Marc Gasol. I mean, just thinking about a few guys that have missed short, limited times, Larry Nance on the Lakers. So, I mean, all those injuries, that's just making the NBA so fun, but also so much what happens when they get back.
Yeah, it's a rough time right now in the NBA. A lot of big stars trying to heal up from some injuries. But my 3 things. Rockets, like you said, also one of mine. They are playing some great basketball. Number 1 in the West right now. And my second thing, feeding off of that, Golden State is looking pretty bad right now. Steph just had an ankle injury the other night. Kevin Durant just got ejected again. Some tensions flaring up there, and they're second in the West right now. And if they keep on this slide, I mean, it's the Warriors. So
it's November/December.
So technically a slide right now for them, knowing all of their success in the past couple years. They're playing not as good basketball as they would like to right now, and I think the Rockets have a legit shot at them come May.
I don't agree with that, but I do recognize that Golden State's slipping.
And my last thing, the Grizzlies are a mess right now. 8-15, just fired their coach David Fizdale, and really, when you're 8-15, just fired your coach, you should be going under a big rebuild, but they've got 2 max players on their team. Mike Conley, who signed the richest contract a couple years ago, isn't the richest anymore, but still a max player, and Marc Gasol, too. He had some issues with Fizdale, part of the reason he got fired, and the Grizzlies just not looking too good right now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the max contracts, personally, I don't have an issue with it just because, I mean, both guys deserve it. Conley and Gasol are max contract kind of guys. But the thing that bugs me is the coaching. David Fizdale is a phenomenal coach. And it's the same thing we saw in Orlando back in, I think it was 2011. It's Stan Van Gundy and Dwight Howard. You've got a sensational player and a pretty good coach. Which one do you pick? And now that's 2 times in a row where you pick the player over the coach. You think about in Houston with Kevin McHale and James Harden and those issues. Like all of these things that just you keep picking the player over the coach. This one is kind of maybe the one I would have thought about sticking with Fizdale. I thought he was building something big. I mean, you think about last year, he got him into the playoffs with the most injuries ever on an NBA team. Like, David Fizdale is a phenomenal coach. He'll find a job very quickly, I have a feeling. And one other thing on the Grizzlies, I think LeBron has officially crossed them off his list of next free agency, as he was very upset with the Fizdale signing. Not that he ever considered Memphis, but just I think it's now down to 29 teams trying to sign LeBron.
All right, that's going to do it for Around the Association. Now let's move on to some Friday afternoon football.
All right, welcome back to Friday afternoon football. It's not Monday night, but it's Friday afternoon.
Yeah, and last Sunday night, the mighty Eagles went down to the Seahawks, visiting CenturyLink Field, and the Eagles just a couple of big plays away from winning that game. But I still think they're the best team in the NFC.
Yeah, I do too. I think the Rams are the next team below them, or the Vikings. Eagles and Vikings play, and Rams. I think the Eagles and Rams play this week, so it should be a good one.
Yeah, all right. From the AFC, obviously this AFC West race is getting tight. The Chiefs, after a very hot start, have been struggling a lot lately. Back to 500 at 6-6, tied with the Raiders and the Chargers at the top of the division.
Yeah, I mean, the Chargers getting healthy, the Raiders hopefully starting to click, new defensive coordinator with John Pagano. It's going to be a good race, and I think it's all going to come down to, I personally think it's going to come down to either this week when the Raiders play the Chiefs or Week 17 when the Chargers play the Raiders.
All right, so we got some games to pick, a lot of good games this weekend. First off, in this AFC West race, like you said, the Chiefs and the Raiders play. Who do you like?
It's at Kansas City, but I'm going with the road team. I'm going with the Oakland Raiders. Derek Carr puts the team on his back. Marshawn Lynch comes out for the big game. Last time they played the Chiefs, he got ejected in that big fight when he pushed the ref. But I think he comes out, has a big game. Him and Marcus Peters are friends. Peters got ejected last week. And I'm liking the Raiders. I think the defense figures him out, stifles Kareem Hunt and Alex Smith.
I think the Chiefs finally get a rebound from this.
Don't do it to the Raiders.
From this big losing streak they're on. I mean, they got to come back sometime. A home game. The Raiders didn't look too great against the Giants last week, and they're a big mess down there in New York. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs this week, and they take the division race for at least this week.
Yeah.
So moving over to the NFC, a couple of top NFC teams matching up. The Vikings visit Carolina and the Panthers this week.
Yeah, I'm taking the road team again. I'm going with the Minnesota Vikings. Their defense is just too good. Xavier Rhodes really locking up that number one receiver, and Carolina really only has a number one receiver. It's Devin Funchess. But after that, it's kind of who's next. Christian McCaffrey, the third leading receiver on the team. I love Christian McCaffrey, don't get me wrong, but I think it's the Vikings' day.
I also have the Vikings in this game. Like you said, the Panthers really don't have a lot of options outside of Devin Funchess for Cam Newton to throw the ball to. The Vikings are playing some real good football. Case Keenum is playing fantastic. I'm going with Minnesota.
Yep.
Next game, the Seahawks visit the Jaguars. Both teams 8-4 right now. Jason, who do you like?
Yeah, you just said fantastic quarterbacks, so you got to talk about Russell Wilson, right? He's been a fantastic quarterback, but not so fast. I'm taking the Jacksonville Jaguars. You already knew that one was coming. Blake Bortles, he has 2,500 yards passing, 14 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Blake Bortles helping this team stay afloat. Obviously, the powerful running game by Leonard Fournette. Marquise Lee establishing himself as number one receiver. But Jacksonville, 5 more sacks than the next closest team. And you know what? The Jaguars are going to keep on rolling, and this is going to be a big win for them this week. And I'm taking Jacksonville at home.
I'm going to go with the Seahawks in this one. Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll, and the Seahawks always fire it up when it's December. They, every December, get on a big winning streak, and find themselves back in the playoff race. A big win versus the Eagles last week, and I think they ride the momentum and get a win versus the Jaguars.
This is an anti-Jaguar fan right here. He is very not on the bandwagon of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I keep trying. Every week I keep trying to get him on, but eventually one of these days he'll join the Jacksonville Jaguars on their road to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we'll see about that come playoff time.
All right, I tried.
Eagles and the Rams next game at Los Angeles. Two of the top teams in the NFC. Who do you like?
That's a tough one. I'm going to go with the Eagles. I just said I think they're the best team. The Rams are the second closest, them are the Vikings, but I'm going with the Eagles. Carson Wentz is just too good. I think he's going to carve up this Rams defense, and it's going to be a high-scoring one.
Yeah, definitely high-scoring, and I'm also going to go with the Eagles. I think the Rams are a great team, but the Eagles don't have to worry about going cross-country. They're staying out west all week, and I think they can get a win versus the Rams on the road and reclaim that top NFC spot.
Yeah.
And last game, the Ravens and the Steelers, a divisional matchup. The Ravens playing some good football lately, and the Steelers coming off a big Monday night win versus the Bengals and a comeback. Who wins this one?
I'm taking the Baltimore Ravens. I know it's a big kind of upset. The Steelers need every win they can get to try to dethrone the Patriots, but I think this just feels like a Ravens-type win. The Steelers have gotten by with a lot of close wins, just barely got it done, dating all the way back to when they beat the Colts on that field goal. They just get a lot of we find a way to get it done wins, and I think the Ravens finally figured it out offensively. Alex Collins, Javorius Allen, Joe Flacco, I think they kind of get the job done, and I like the Ravens.
You say it's a Ravens type of win. I'd say it's a Steelers type of loss. The Steelers are very inconsistent at times, and really you mentioned a lot of those games were close, but Baltimore's got a better defense than any of the teams that the Steelers have really tried to keep it close with. So I'm also going to take the Ravens in this one. A divisional matchup, huge rivalry, and these teams will face off on Sunday.
Yeah, it should be a good week for football. A lot of movement in the playoffs.
All right, so that will do it for Friday afternoon football. And last but not least, we have Soarin Sports at Guerin Catholic. All right, welcome back to Soarin Sports at Guerin Catholic. So the boys basketball team this past week had kind of a rough week, went 1-2, dropping games on both Friday and Saturday, but they have games this week, Friday at Arlington and Saturday back home versus Muncie Central. Jason, what does the boys have to do to get this thing back rolling?
Well, Monday, Coach Smith gave the guys the day off. They're supposed to practice at the Jungle, but he gave them the day off, helped them decompress, really think about the Saturday game. That was a heartbreaker, and then get rejuvenated for the week ahead. Obviously, you might be watching this before our broadcast, so if so, tune in or stay tuned in to watch the Arlington game. But really, I think Guerin Catholic, they got a lot of the right pieces. It's just about playing together as a team. It feels a lot like, not iso ball, but just playing for individuals and not talking, not communicating bad shots. I think they're going to turn it around. They've got enough talent to do so. Senior point guard Clay Hebb doing a good job leading the team. Zach Munson and Jack Hansen playing phenomenally down low. One game Zach struggles, one game Jack struggles, but together they both had a pretty decent weekend. And it's just kind of the X factor for me is Luke Godfrey and Kean Sills. How well do they play? If they play well, it gets us the win. If they don't play well, we get the loss. And I think Kean and Luke can really play well this season and lead us far in the playoffs.
Yeah, we'll have to see about that. Like we said, 2 games. Make sure you tune into both of them. GuerinCatholic.faithnetwork.com will be on the call for both. Let's move on to girls basketball, though. They're still looking for their first win on the season. Sid Geis averages 12.6 points per game for the Lady Golden Eagles this season, and she just committed to North Central College to continue her girls basketball career.
Yeah, I'm good friends with Sid. I congratulate her. She's pretty excited, so obviously good for her and her family. But yeah, the girls basketball team still trying to get on track. They have an 11-day break coming up, so hopefully they can utilize that to kind of just, like I said with the guys team, decompress, think about it, get back on track. So hopefully Coach Roth can get the team straightened out and get them on a little bit of a winning streak and get back in the race.
All right, wrestling. Their first 2 matches, they had a couple of close losses, but they have a meet Saturday at Plainfield and Tuesday at Brownsburg, still looking for their first win on the season. And girls swimming, They went 3-0 last week. So
I heard about that. Yeah, that's big. I have a few friends that are swimmers, and they said it was a pretty good week for them, and it was exciting. So, yeah, for girls swimming, definitely an exciting week. Wrestling and girls basketball and guys basketball all trying to find their rhythm still.
All right, so that will do it for Sports Weekly episode number 4. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you're watching this before our broadcast, make sure you stay tuned for that. But that will do it.
Yeah, we will see you next week. Thanks for listening, and watch the basketball games. They're good ones.